All right, so we're going to read chapter 13, and the last thing we read after he got sucked under the water was, "For there, sitting in the bow of the boat and smiling down on him, was Luxa." "I'll let you go get off for one day and look at the trouble you get into," Luxa said. "I bet I know somebody else who's in trouble," Gregor croaked with a smile. "Much trouble," he heard Merith say behind him. Gregor didn't have to turn his head to see the soldier's expression. He was angry. "I cannot go back," Luxa said with satisfaction. "It is too far now, and Aurora and I would most surely perish in the deep." "Yes, you timed that nicely," said Merith. "I know," said Luxa. "I know you know. Everyone will know you knew if you ever arrive home in one piece to tell the tale," said Merith. Gregor had never thought much about Merith's relationship with Luxa. She was his queen, or would be when she turned 16, but there was another side to it he recognized after the day of training. Merith was her coach, and he wasn't afraid to chew her out. "Oh, Merith, how long are you to stay angry with me?" said Luxa. "It's been at least a day already. No one will blame you for my disobedience." "That is much beside the point, Luxa," barked Merith. "This venture is extremely dangerous, and what if you die? You leave Regalia with Nerissa as a leader, and she is of age. Can you imagine what will happen then to Regalia, to Nerissa?" "She will have to abdicate," Howard said from somewhere in the other boat. "She will do no such thing. She will rule. If I die and not Vicus, and never you and your wretched sister," said Luxa. There was a shocked silence. Then Howard spoke. "Is this what you think? That I want to be king? I believe you have me confused with another cousin." Ouch. It was another allusion to Henry, but this time Gregor thought Luxa might have had it coming. "And do not judge me by Stelavet. She is wretched, I admit it, but I can no more control her than you could control Henry," Howard spat out. "If you think I will believe you're innocent, I will not. I have seen you torment Nerissa," said Luxa. "When? When did I do this?" "I have barely spent 5 minutes with her altogether," said Howard. "At the festival, when you set that lizard at her?" said Luxa. "Set it? I did not set it. There was a rare color changer, and I thought it would amuse her to see it," said Howard. "But Henry said he saw you," began Luxa. Henry said, I cannot believe you even now. You do not question things that Henry said, Luxa. Is he the one who told you I was after your crown?" Howard's voice rose in frustration. "Henry said—" "Shh, too loud, you like Fofo," he heard Boots say. "It is Fos, glow, glow," said an offended voice in the next boat. "Oh, be quiet, Fofo," said Twitch Tip, and Gregor had to pretend to cough to conceal he was laughing. Boots' feet pattered up by Gregor's head. She leaned over, looking upside down at him. "Hi, you." "Well, hi, you," said Gregor. "What's going on, Boots?" "I do toes." "Phew! I do breakfast 2 times," Boots said, holding up her 4 fingers. She squatted down and pressed her nose into his forehead so their eyes were blinking at each other, upside down. "I see you," she said. "I see you too," said Gregor. "Bye," Boots said, and trotted off to the other end of the boat. Gregor struggled into a sitting position. His whole body ached like he had the flu. He leaned against the side of the boat and looked at his bandaged arm. "So what's it look like under the bandage?" "It is not for the faint of heart," said Merith. "You may thank Howard for saving your arm." "Saving it? You are going to cut it off?" Gregor asked, instinctively pulling it closer. "We would have had no choice if the venom spread further, but Howard was able to suck it from the wounds," said Merith. "Ugh. Thanks, Howard," Gregor said, gingerly flexing his fingers. Luxa scowled. "What, he sucked venom from my arm? I can't say thank you. I'm trained in water aid. I have sworn to save anyone in peril related to the water," said Howard. "If my cousin had been paying attention that night, there would be no need to be so grateful," said Luxa. Gregor remembered waking, seeing the tentacle. "No, it was my fault. I was supposed to be on guard, and I fell asleep." He felt ashamed to admit it, but it wasn't fair to let Howard take the blame. Everyone was quiet for a minute. Then Merith spoke up. We probably would still have been attacked, but it is crucial to stay awake when you're on guard. Not only your own survival, but that of many hangs in this journey. It was even worse than Gregor thought then. Sorry, I was tired, but I thought I could stay awake. It is something you learn, how to stand guard. There are tricks to keeping your mind alert. You will find them, said Howard. But Luxa and Merith said nothing, and Gregor knew that, for them, what he had done was inexcusable. Howard came from the fount. It was not so dangerous there. Luxa and Merith had fought too many rats to let him off the hook. Merith called a break for dinner. Gregor was famished. He stuffed way too much in his mouth, choked, and had to take a piece of bread back out. Excuse me, I guess I haven't eaten since dinner last night. That was 2 nights ago, said Howard. You've been out for almost 2 full days. 2 days! Exclaimed Gregor. He'd never been out that long before. 2 days plus the one he had traveled. They must be at least halfway to the Bane, and he felt no more prepared to face it than when he had left Regalia. He should be doing something. He thought about asking Merith to give him a few more sword lessons, but he was so wiped out from the squid venom he doubted he could lift the sword. Besides, hitting things with a sword didn't seem to be his problem. In fact, if anything, he couldn't stop hitting things. It was like something took over his whole being, something beyond his control. In a weak attempt to better his chances with the Bane, he lay on his back for a while, practicing echolocation. Click! But his mind kept going back to the squid and how he hadn't been able to stop hacking away at it. He couldn't really even remember fighting it, the same way he couldn't really remember hitting all the blood balls. Click. Sometimes that happened to people who were crazy. Sometimes that happened to people who were crazy. Oh, I already said it. They had blank spots and couldn't remember how they'd gotten somewhere or what they'd been doing. Click. Oh, and there was that guy in the werewolf movie. Same thing happened to him. He'd just wake up and all bloody, wondering what had happened to his clothes. Click. Gregor knew there wasn't really werewolves. Click. Then again, he did. How did he know that? If you'd asked him 6 months ago, he'd have said there weren't giant talking rats. Click, click, click. He was getting nowhere with his echolocation stuff. Maybe Rip Red was right. He had to focus. But who could focus when we're in the middle of an underground sea full of squid venom on their way to killing a monstrous white rat? Not him. Gregor sat up and saw Luxa sitting nearby, sharpening her sword on some kind of stone. How do you feel? She asked. Better, since I ate, said Gregor. Luxa tested the edge of her blade by splitting a strand of rope. She frowned in dissatisfaction and continued to work on it. That looks pretty sharp to me, said Gregor. Not sharp enough for what lies ahead of us, said Luxa. It is doubtful many of us will survive. So why did you come? Asked Gregor. I thought you might need my help. You have depended on it before, said Luxa, and Aurora and I, we have Ares to think of as well. While all that might be true, Gregor had a feeling there was more going on inside Luxa. Is that all? Isn't that enough? Luxa asked, avoiding his gaze. Sure, I just thought, well, maybe it had something to do with... Gregor stopped himself. With what? Said Luxa. With nothing, said Gregor. Forget it. I can hardly forget it now, said Luxa. Why else would I come? Because of Henry. I mean, if I were you, I might come to show people I wasn't like him. I might come to make Stelivit shut up, said Gregor. Luxa didn't admit that what he said was right, but she didn't say no either. So what's the deal with who gets to be king and queen here? Gregor asked after a while. My father's family has been on the throne for some time, and his only child, I will become the ruler. If I have children, the oldest will follow me, said Luxa. Even if it's a girl and she has a brother? Gregor thought that girls only got to rule if there were no boys in the family. Oh yes, girls have equal claim to the throne, said Luxa. If I have no children, the crown will go to Nerissa, but she is the last in our line, so if she dies or abdicates without children, Regalia will have to choose a new royal family. And Stelivit thinks it will be her family, said Gregor. She is probably right. Vicus and Sullivan will be the most likely choice. Their oldest child, my Aunt Susanna, would follow, and then her children, my fount cousins. Howard is the eldest, said Luxa. Sounds like Stelvet's a long way from being queen anyway, said Gregor. Not as long as you might think. Not in the Underland, said Luxa. The bats who had been flying around came in for bedtime. Meredith put Howard's red bat Pandora and Ares on guard. Gregor had a feeling he wasn't going to be assigned that duty for quite a while. Twitch-Tip was restless. Something's not right, she said. She lifted her nose in the air, and her head made an involuntary jerk to the side. Is it more squid? Gregor asked, looking into the deep. No, it is not animal, but something's not right, she repeated. In what way? Asked Ares. With the water, she said. Is it tainted? Frigid? Filled with debris? Asked Howard. No, said Twitch-Tip. I'd recognize those things. It's something I don't have a word for. But she could not explain further, so there was nothing to do but settle down in an uneasy sleep. A few hours later, Gregor awoke to the sound of rushing water and Howard's frantic voice screaming the word that Twitch-Tip did not have. Whirlpool!